This is Logan Giles with your 5 o'clock p.m. Giles Scale advisory on what is now Tropical Storm Sally. Sally is a 40 mile an hour tropical storm, which is on the lower end of the scale, but it is very organized and has a very robust center of circulation and has strong convection at the center. It is expected to intensify into a hurricane as it moves into the Gulf tomorrow evening and will bring very substantial impacts to the Gulf coasts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and even parts of the Florida Panhandle. Now, the main impact is going to be rainfall and storm surge. This is not a very fast moving system once it gets into the north central Gulf because there's really no steering to move this thing. It is a slow mover. It is going to bring a lot of rain, and it is going to bring a copious amount of storm surge. Now, this thing could really get going because there's this thing called upper level divergence, which is an anticyclonic flow. It's one thing we look for intensification. If the convection can be circulated and if it has a tight core by tomorrow morning, this thing is likely to intensify quickly. The waters are warm, there's enough ocean heat content to really ramp this up, and there's not a lot of wind shear. Now, this is just one potential. Don't be too nervous about this. We're not talking about a category 5 or even 4. We're talking about a potential major impact of a category 1 or likely greater for the central Gulf Coast. Now, let's look at the natural. Let's look at the Hurricane Center because they just issued their latest advisory. Wind speed impacts. The tropical storm force winds are at the earliest expected to begin tomorrow night for parts of the Gulf Coast of Florida, and they are earliest reasonable, so the earliest possible for places like the Florida Panhandle, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana tomorrow. So at the earliest, along the west coast of Florida, we can expect those tropical storm winds to possibly arrive in the afternoon hours. Now, most likely, let's turn on those wind profiles. Most likely, you're talking about Monday morning to Monday afternoon for the central Gulf Coast. If you are on the Panhandle, you have roughly, let's move this down. You have roughly a 40 to 50% chance of seeing those winds, whether if you live along the Mississippi and Louisiana coastline, you, especially do the mouth of the Mississippi, you have a pretty good chance. That's where the core of the system is expected to be. Now, let's talk about the cone of uncertainty, which is what we all like to look at, of course. Now, as you see, a hurricane watch has been issued from Mobile, Alabama to the mouth of the Mississippi River, while a tropical storm watch has been issued for the Florida Panhandle. It is expected to become an 85 mile an hour hurricane, which is a mid Category 1 at landfall. A Category 2, of course, begins at 95 miles an hour. Let's talk about storm surge. I went to that too quickly. A storm surge watch has been issued for parts of the central Gulf Coast, while a storm surge watch has been issued from Mobile, Alabama to the mouth of the Mississippi. Now, how much storm surge are we talking? Again, this is one of the two main impacts. We are talking an estimated 6 to 9 feet of storm surge. This will kill you. If you are there and do not have proper elevation, this is going to kill you. This will reach halfway of the first story and will make survival very hard. Now, this is only parts This is only parts of Mississippi and Louisiana, such as Gulfport. The the forecast for storm surge is, of course, subject to change. It is going to change because of the path of the storm. No matter where the storm hits, the strongest surge is going to be east of the center. We saw with Hurricane Laura, the strongest surge was east of the hurricane, although it was not where it was forecasted. So it does not matter where the storm lands. Whoever is east of the eye is going to see the highest surge. If you are along the Big Bend and the Panhandle of Florida, you can expect to see maximum of 3 feet of surge. Better chance west of Mexico Beach. Now, this is not including parts that were impacted by Hurricane Laura a few weeks ago. However, I would guess you can expect a couple of feet of surge most likely. If that gets stronger, which it does have a chance, that surge forecast will increase. I did see some tweets saying that some offices have talked about upgrading this to 12 feet if this gets stronger. So plan for impactful storm surge if you live along the Mississippi and Louisiana coastline, as well as Mobile Bay, which will be enhanced due to the nature of that coastline. I'm not intending to scare you. This is real. Although you may look and say, "Oh, it's only going to be a Category 1 at landfall." The impacts will be a major hurricane, especially with storm surge between the border of Mississippi and Alabama and the mouth of the Mississippi. That's where the highest surge is going to be. Again, 6 to 9 feet. That is life-threatening. If surge is above 6 feet, it's going to threaten your life. Now let's talk about the second threat from water, which is of course rainfall. Again, the main areas are expected from Panama City all the way to the Mississippi-Alabama border. This can be expected between 10 and 15 inches of rain. Add on the feet of storm surge and wave action, you talked about significant impacts. Now, how significant? We will discuss later on the scale what this means. Now, along most of the Florida Panhandle and to New Orleans, you can expect up to 10 inches of rainfall. Again, very serious. The spots that do flood easily have poor drainage, they will flood. And even inland towards Hattiesburg and central Mississippi and Alabama, you can expect up to a half foot of rain, which is enough to cause substantial problems in those rivers. And inland, furthermore, Tennessee, northern Mississippi, Alabama, up to 4 inches, it's plenty, but not really expecting a ton of issues with that. Now, let's focus on the scale, which is what you're all here for. Now, with rainfall, that should be changed. I thought I changed that. Huh. Okay. I know this is not going to be a Cat 3 impact with rain. Okay. There we go. Now, I'm expecting impacts of Category 2 potential rainfall between Pensacola, Florida, all the way to places like Gulfport, Mississippi. And you can see the Category 1 is impacted from the Big Bend of Florida all the way to parts of eastern, southeast Louisiana. So that's a rainfall. Again, max impact is Cat 2. Again, if this slows down or gets stronger, this will climb, and just off the coast is a Category 3 impact, which has forecast up to 2 feet of rain. That's just off the coast. I will change that if needed. So that's just subject to change. Storm surge, biggest impact. Major hurricane impacts expected for eastern Louisiana right along the Gulf of Mexico. Now, I did not add a major hurricane status for storm surge for Mississippi because the forecast is expected to be very high, life-threatening, but not major hurricane status yet. I am favoring changing Mississippi to that Cat 3 status, but again, I'm watching just to be sure if I need to. This will go as far as west as Cameron, Louisiana. I'm not expecting a lot of surge, probably will not get any, but just in case I have added you. Lake Pontchartrain, up to 4 feet of storm surge, most likely on that low end of Category 2, while the west coast of Florida and the Big Bend plus the Panhandle, you can expect up to 3 feet of storm surge. So again, the best chance for that is going to be west of Panama City and Mexico Beach. And overall, and with wind, I got ahead of myself. And with wind, I've only added those areas under hurricane watches because this is supposed to be only, you'd like to say only a Category 1. Again, if you look at the overall image, this is going to be a pretty hard-hitting event. Again, major impacts expected between Mississippi and Louisiana and probably Alabama as well. More terms of probably rainfall and storm surge than wind. The wind will most likely be in a little concave part between Mississippi and Louisiana. So again, here's a better look. And for much better insight, follow your local offices such as Mobile, New Orleans, and Tallahassee. Once again, stay tuned to the latest updates on Sally from the National Hurricane Center. They issue the main updates at 5 o'clock and 11 o'clock, while they issue intermediate advisories at 2 o'clock and 8 o'clock, all Eastern Time. I'll see you all tomorrow afternoon, probably around 5 o'clock again, same time. And folks along Gulf Coast, stay safe.